Okay, this video continues the budget spreadsheet example, and basically this is the formatting part of it. We've entered all the computation, all the numbers, and we are ready to start formatting this so that it looks nice. By the way, I did skip a step right at the end of the last video. I would highly recommend that if you have not saved your worksheet at this point that you do that. So you should do a file and save as. We're going to save it as budget, and please make sure that you save it into your 101 folder. Okay, so we've got that saved there. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we want the monthly budget title here to be centered across the whole thing. There are actually several different ways to do this. I'm going to show you my favorite. I think that it's the one that makes the formatting and using this feature the easiest, and so this is the one I tend to use all the time. We're going to select all the way across here all the cells that we want this to be centered in. And then we're going to click this button here, which is Merge and Center. And what that does is it makes one cell out of all those and then says whatever's in that cell, which was the text that we had put in before, we're just going to center it in that. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to make this larger. So let's make it a little larger a couple times until it becomes 16. Our font is 16. And then we're going to do the same thing for this second line, the person's name, I am broke. Again, we're going to select from A2 to N2 and do the merge and center. And this one we just want it to be 12, so we just have to make it larger once there. So that is the first part of our formatting. The next thing we want to do is we want to make the income and the expenses label here bold. Well, this is very similar to Word. We just click on it and say make it bold, click on it and make it bold. So that's very simple. We also want to do it for a couple rows and a couple columns. And so we're going to make the total income, the total expenses, and the disposable income here. We want those entire rows to be bold. We can select an entire row in Excel by clicking out on the number here on the label of the row. Notice that the whole row is now selected, and I can say make that bold. This row is now selected, make that bold, and then finally the disposable income line and make that bold. We can do the same thing also with columns, and so we can click on the end column here, the one with the total here, and we can make everything there bold. Okay, so we're up to step number 23 here, and we're going to put in the formatting for the numbers. So we're going to select all the numbers here, and we want to make them display with the dollar sign. Now, do not use this one. This one is the accounting number format, and the accountants use the number sign in a slightly different way than what we normally do for just common everyday money. So we're actually going to go up here to the general, and we're going to select currency. And you'll notice that that fills in our values here. However, it puts dollars and cents there, and we don't want cents. But there is a button here which is called decrease decimal, and if I click that, it gets rid of one of the decimal places, and if I click it again, it gets rid of the second decimal place. So now my all of my values here are displayed as whole dollars, which is what I wanted. Okay, I actually think there's a step missing on the lab sheet. In fact, I know there's a step missing on the lab sheet. And that is, first of all, we need to, we want to center all of these values across here. So let's just select all those values and we can center them here. And the other thing is we have to adjust the column widths. Now, these we might not have to adjust, but clearly this one we do. We've got this column too narrow, so it can't display all of the information. So if you remember way back when we were first doing the lab on working with Windows Explorer, we noticed that anytime we have columns across here, if we double click on one of the dividing lines, it will make that column the right size. We also, of course, can drag these columns back and forth and make them any width we want. The other thing we can do is if we select a whole a lot of columns here, we can then drag any column and make it the right width. So I'm going to make these all 8 wide, which is large enough so that we can still get the numbers in there, but makes our table a little more compact. By the way, if you make the cells too narrow, Excel will use these pound signs to indicate you don't have enough space for it to actually write the number there. So if you ever see those pound signs show up all of a sudden, it means that you've either sized the numbers too large or you've made the columns too small. So I'm going to undo that and go back to a size that fits there. Okay, so at this point we have now gone through the formatting, and again I'm going to stop the video here and start a new one for the chart. Again, I would suggest that this would be a good chance to save your worksheet.